My brother got my fiancée pregnant before our wedding. My family wants me to forgive them, but I chose to cut ties and move far away to start over. This is as messy as it sounds, and there is a lot to explain. I do not care if anyone believes me, I just need to share my side. I am 32 years old, and until a few months ago I was engaged to Sarah, who had been my girlfriend for 5 years. My younger brother Mike is 29, and has always been the golden child in our family. To understand why this betrayal hurts so much, you need to know the history of our family. Growing up, Mike could do no wrong. Whenever something happened, I was the one blamed and punished. If Mike broke something, I was the one who got in trouble. If he started a fight, I was the one grounded. Even when we both got straight as Mike was rewarded with gifts while I was told to keep working hard. My parents, Tom and Linda, always made excuses. They would say Mike needed more attention because he was younger or that. I should know better because I was older. It was not just favoritism. It was a constant reminder that I came second. When I got into a good college on a partial scholarship, my parents barely noticed. When Mike went to community college, they threw him a party and bought him a car. I had been biking to work for years and they never cared. I moved out as soon as I could and put myself through college by working 2 jobs and taking out loans. Meanwhile, Mike dropped out after 1 semester, saying college was not for him. My parents praised him for knowing what he wanted and continued to fund his endless failed business ideas. I still tried to maintain a relationship with Mike because he was my brother, but it was always one-sided. I would reach out and he would ignore me or turn it into a competition. If I got a promotion, he would talk about some big opportunity he had. If I started dating someone, he would suddenly announce he was in a serious relationship. That was how I met Sarah. She was a friend of one of Mike's short-term girlfriends, and we clicked right away. She was everything I had ever wanted in a partner. She was smart, funny, kind, and beautiful. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was building something real. My parents were not happy, though. They made sarcastic comments about Sarah being out of my league and asked what she saw in me. Mike seemed unusually interested. He kept asking questions about Sarah, and at the time I thought he was just being supportive for once. Looking back, I should have seen the warning signs. Sarah and I moved in together after a year, and everything felt perfect. We talked about the future, traveled together, and built a life. After 4 years, I proposed. It was a simple dinner at home, but it felt right. When she said yes, I felt like my life was finally coming together. When we told my family, their reactions were predictable. My mom forced a smile and said how nice in the most insincere tone. My dad grunted good luck without even looking at me. Mike's reaction was different, though. He smiled in a way that felt off, like he knew something. I didn't. I dismissed it, thinking I was just imagining things. We spent the next year planning the wedding, saving for our future and dreaming about the life we wanted. For the first time, I felt like I had everything I had ever dreamed of. I had no idea how quickly it would all fall apart. Sarah and I were both working long hours trying to save for the wedding and a down payment on a house. We barely saw each other anymore, but I assumed it was just a rough patch. Every relationship goes through difficult times, or so I thought. Looking back, I should have noticed the signs. Sarah started acting distant. She was always on her phone, smiling at messages she claimed were from work friends. She began going out more often with her friends, coming home late smelling of wine and cologne. I trusted her completely, so the idea of her cheating never crossed my mind. I would never have guessed it was with my own brother. A few months ago, Sarah's mood started changing. She became irritable, withdrawn, and was constantly nauseous. I was excited, thinking maybe she was pregnant. We had not been trying, but we had talked about having kids in the future. I started imagining nursery colors and baby names. Then one night, Sarah sat me down with tears streaming down her face and told me the truth. She was pregnant, but the baby was not mine. I felt my world collapse around me. We had not been intimate in weeks because of our busy schedules, but I never thought she would betray me. When I asked who the father was, she broke down sobbing and admitted it was Mike. I could not breathe. I could not think. All I could feel was a crushing sense of betrayal and loss. Sarah tried to explain through her tears, saying it started at our engagement party. Mike told her she was making a mistake marrying me. He preyed on her insecurities, saying she deserved better and promising her things I apparently could not give her. It had not been a one-time mistake. They had been having an affair for months. That night, I told Sarah to leave. I could not look at her or even be in the same room as her. She begged me to forgive her, saying It was a mistake and that she loved me, but all I could think about was how many times she had lied to my face. She had been with my brother while wearing the ring I gave her. After Sarah left, I called Mike. I cannot even remember what I said. It was a blur of rage and pain. At first, he tried to brush it off, claiming it was a drunken mistake that meant nothing. When I kept pressing, he became defensive, saying maybe if I had been a better fiancée, Sarah would not have come to him. I snapped. I got in my car and drove straight to his apartment, with no plan, just a burning need to make him regret what he had done. When I got there, our parents were already there. Mike had called them first and fed them some story about Sarah seducing him. And of course, they believed him. They always do. My mom immediately started lecturing me about forgiveness and family. My dad just stood there looking, disappointed in me as usual, but never in Mike. I tried to tell them the truth, but they would not listen. They said I needed to forgive Mike and support Sarah through the pregnancy because family always comes first. I lost it. Years of pent-up anger poured out of me. I told them exactly how I felt about their constant favoritism and how they had always taken Mike's side no matter what. I told Mike he was dead to me and told my parents they could keep their perfect son because they no longer had me. I drove aimlessly for hours wanting to escape everything. When I got home, I saw dozens of missed calls and messages. Sarah was begging for another chance. Mike alternated between apologies and accusations. My parents demanded I grow up and make amends. I ignored them all. For days, I barely ate or slept. I called out of work and stayed locked in my apartment, replaying everything in my head. Every lie, every moment, every decision that had led to this. I wondered where I went wrong. It has been months now. I have moved to a new apartment, changed my number, and started therapy. But no matter how much distance I try to put between us, my family keeps intruding in my life. Despite everything I have done to cut them off, my family refuses to let go. They keep pushing their way back into my life as if I owe them something. My parents have shown up at my workplace, ambushing me in the parking lot and trying to corner me. My mom stands there crying about how I am tearing the family apart while my dad leaves angry voicemails calling me selfish and immature. Even Mike has tried reaching out, but I have managed to avoid him so far. It is not just them either. My extended family has gotten involved too. Aunts, uncles, and cousins I have not heard from in years are suddenly calling to guilt trip me. They keep saying how important family is and how I should forgive Mike as if what he and Sarah did was just a minor mistake. It feels like they are living in an alternate reality where betrayal is excused and my pain does not matter. To make things worse, Sarah reached out again recently. She told me she is keeping the baby and plans to co-parent with Mike. My parents are thrilled about becoming grandparents. It is like they have completely forgotten everything they said about Sarah when she was with me. In her message, Sarah had the audacity to say, she hopes we can all be friends someday for the sake of the child. As if I could ever look at that baby and not see the ultimate symbol of betrayal. I have thought about leaving altogether, moving to another state, or even changing my identity just to start over somewhere. No one knows me, but there is a part of me that is so angry I want to stay and fight. I want them to see how wrong they are, but I do not know if that is worth my sanity. This entire situation has affected every part of my life. I can barely stand being alone with my thoughts. Dating again feels impossible because the idea of trusting someone that deeply scares me. I have lost friends who think I am wrong for refusing to forgive and pretend everything is fine. The idea of Mike and Sarah raising a child together makes me physically sick. I know the baby is innocent in all of this, but I cannot bring myself to feel any goodwill about its existence. My parents keep insisting I should be involved in the baby's life. They say I will be a great uncle, and that I need to let this go for the sake of the family. But how can I look at that child and not feel the pain of everything Mike and Sarah did to me? I feel like I am drowning in a sea of gaslighting and betrayal. Writing this down is the only thing keeping me from losing it completely. I do not know what to do anymore. Am I wrong for refusing to forgive them? Am I the bad guy for wanting to cut them all off? The constant harassment pushed me to seek a restraining order against my family. I thought it would be straightforward, given the evidence and the repeated incidents, but it turned into a nightmare. My parents showed up to the court hearing with an expensive lawyer, who painted me as the unreasonable one. They claimed I was tearing the family apart over a misunderstanding, as if Mike had accidentally fallen into my fiancée. Thankfully, the judge saw through their performance and granted the restraining order. My mother sobbed dramatically in court while my father glared at me like I was the problem. Mike just stood there smirking. As I was leaving, he walked up and whispered that this was not over, and that I could not hide behind a piece of paper forever. I will admit his words shook me, but at least I had some legal protection. The harassment at work also escalated. My mother showed up in the office lobby one day with a photo album trying to convince my co-workers of how close Mike and I used to be. She was loudly telling embarrassing childhood stories. When my assistant informed me, I went down to find her surrounded by uncomfortable co-workers flipping through photos and talking about a baby shower. When she saw me, she ran over saying we needed to talk. I told her to leave or I would call the police. She acted like I had slapped her, but I did not care. Security escorted her out, and I spent the rest of the day doing damage control with my boss and co-workers. That was bad enough, but things reached a breaking point last week at the gym. I was working out trying to let out some of my frustration when Mike approached me. He ignored the restraining order and walked up like nothing had happened. He loudly accused me of threatening him and Sarah, hoping to provoke me. I told him to leave, but he laughed and said he would tell the police I had attacked him. I lost control. I swung at him and hit him in the jaw. He stumbled back and then lunged at me. We ended up on the floor fighting like we were kids again. I got in a few good hits before the gym staff broke us apart. Mike's nose was bleeding and I was bruised. The manager threatened to call the cops, and I grabbed my stuff and left. As I drove home, still shaking from the fight, Sarah called me. She was furious, claiming I had hurt Mike and might have caused permanent damage. She said I was selfish for putting her and the baby under stress. I laughed bitterly and told her she had no right to lecture me after everything she and Mike had done. Then I hung up and blocked her number. The fallout has been awful. Mike filed assault charges against me, and my lawyer is now working on defending me while also pushing for charges against Mike for breaking the restraining order. The legal mess is exhausting and humiliating. I had to show my bruises to the police and explain why I hit my own brother. Meanwhile, Mike continues to spin the narrative that I am unstable. Even the gym banned me for life. It was one of the few places where I could escape, and now I have lost that too. My family keeps spreading lies about me to extended relatives. My cousin Amy has been one of the few supportive people through this. She told me my parents are claiming Sarah and Mike only got together after she and I split up. They are painting me as jealous and bitter. It feels like no matter how much distance I try to put between us, they keep finding ways to drag me back into the chaos. After the fight at the gym, everything spiraled further out of control. News of the brawl spread quickly through our social circle. My phone was flooded with messages. Some people supported me, but others accused me of being violent and overreacting. The gossip only made things worse, and I started avoiding calls altogether. The legal situation became a nightmare. Mike filed assault charges against me, claiming I attacked him without provocation. My lawyer argued that Mike had violated the restraining order and instigated the fight, but it is going to be a difficult battle. I am now facing police interviews, court dates, and the humiliating task of defending myself against my own brother. The incident also caused problems at work. My co-workers started treating me differently after my mother's previous stunt and the fight at the gym going viral on social media. I overheard some of them talking about how my brother got my fiancée pregnant, and it took everything in me not to explode. My boss eventually called me into his office and said it would be best if I took a leave of absence. He framed it as a sabbatical to help me get back on my feet, but it felt like I was being forced out. I packed up my desk and left feeling more defeated than ever. The one silver lining in all this chaos has been my cousin, Amy. She has stood by me and even helped me pack up my office. She told me more about what is happening with the rest of the family. Apparently, my aunt confronted my mom about the years of favoritism toward Mike. She told her they are now facing the consequences of their actions. It felt like a small victory knowing someone else sees the truth. I also received an unexpected message from Sarah's younger sister, Emma. She reached out on social media to apologize for Sarah's behavior and offer her support. At first I was skeptical, but after talking to her, I realized she genuinely feels disgusted by what Sarah and Mike did. Emma has been keeping me updated on their lives, which has been both helpful and painful. Sarah and Mike have moved in together, acting like they are building their perfect little family. Sarah has been posting ultrasound pictures and belly updates on social media. along with captions about how blessed she feels. Every post feels like a fresh wound, but I cannot look away. Emma says Sarah has been playing the victim, telling everyone how she and Mike found love against all odds. It makes me sick to hear, but at least I know what they are doing. Social media has become a nightmare. Someone posted about our gym fight on a local Facebook page, describing the incident in enough detail for people to figure out it was us. The comments became a war zone. Some people defended me, saying Mike deserved what he got, while others called me unstable and suggested I needed professional help. I made the mistake of reading the comments one night after drinking too much and ended up throwing my phone so hard it broke. Since then, I have deleted most of my social media accounts to avoid the endless notifications and judgment. At this point, I have realized I cannot stay in this city. The memories and constant risk of running into my family are unbearable. I have started looking at transfer opportunities with my job, and there is a promising position in Seattle. It is not ideal, but I would move anywhere to get away from all of this. Even with the restraining order, my parents have not stopped trying to interfere. My mom continues to play the victim, claiming I have abandoned the family, while my dad insists I need to grow up and forgive Mike. The thought of staying here and facing more of their manipulations is unbearable. I know I need to leave, but the idea of starting over is terrifying. The relentless pressure from my family and the chaos surrounding me have made one thing clear. I need to leave this city. The memories are suffocating, and every corner holds a chance of running into Sarah, Mike, or my parents. I have started looking at transfer opportunities, and there is a position in Seattle that feels like my best chance at a fresh start. The decision to leave came after yet another blow. I found a letter in my mailbox from Sarah. Inside was an ultrasound photo and a handwritten note about how excited she and Mike were for the baby. She wrote that she hoped I could find it in my heart to be happy for them, and that she wanted the child to have an uncle in its life. Seeing that photo made my blood boil. I unblocked her number and called her immediately. When she answered, I unleashed everything I had held back. I told her exactly how I felt about her Mike and their so-called perfect family. I told her there was no way I would ever have anything to do with them or that child. For the first time in months, I felt like I had truly spoken my mind. After the call, I knew I could not stay here any longer. That night, I called my supervisor and asked about the transfer to Seattle. Within days, it was confirmed. I had 2 weeks to pack up my life and leave. My parents did not take the news well. They showed up at my apartment, breaking the restraining order again to try and stop me. My mom cried about how I was abandoning the family, while my dad yelled at me for being selfish. I did not argue or explain. I called the police and had them removed. As they were escorted out, my mom screamed that I would regret this and that family was everything. I shut the door and went back to packing. Mike stayed quiet this time, likely because of the legal issues, but he made his feelings known on social media. He wrote a long post about how some people cannot handle seeing others happy, and how he and Sarah were rising above the hate to focus on their family. It was clearly aimed at me. I hated seeing how many people liked and supported his post, but I reminded myself that their opinions do not matter. In the middle of all this chaos, Sarah's sister Emma reached out again. She told me Sarah had broken down after our call and admitted that she was scared about what the future held. Emma said Sarah knows what she and Mike did was horrible, but hearing it from me seemed to hit her harder than she expected. It was satisfying to know my words had an impact, even if it changes nothing. My cousin Amy has also been a source of support. She told me more about the fallout within the family. My aunt confronted my mom, accusing her of favoring Mike for years and saying this mess was the result of their parenting. It felt good to know someone else saw the truth and was calling them out. With the move to Seattle confirmed, my focus is on starting over. My lawyer assures me that the legal case against Mike will not be affected by my relocation. The charges for him violating the restraining order are still moving forward, and we are defending against his assault allegations. My lawyer believes the move will show the court that I am not a threat to Mike, which might help in getting the charges dropped. This move feels like my only chance to escape and rebuild. For the first time in months, I feel like there is a light at the end of this nightmare. My move to Seattle is set. It feels surreal knowing I am leaving everything behind, but there is no other choice. I need to start over where no one knows my name or my story. I cannot keep living in a city filled with painful memories and people who refuse to let me heal. Before I leave, my parents made one final attempt to stop me. They showed up at my apartment again, breaking the restraining order. My mom was crying, telling me I was making a mistake and abandoning the family, while my dad accused me of being immature and selfish. I did not respond. I called the police and watched as they were removed from my property. My mom screamed as she was taken away, telling me I would regret this decision and that family is all that matters. I closed the door and went back to packing. Mike stayed quiet, but he found a way to make his feelings known. He posted on social media about how some people cannot handle seeing others happy and how he and Sarah are rising above the negativity to focus on their family. It was clearly directed at me. The likes and comments supporting him stung, but I reminded myself that their opinions mean nothing. They do not know the truth. The final straw was Sarah's attempt to reach out. After our last call, she broke down and went to her sister Emma, who has been my only consistent ally. Emma told me Sarah admitted she knows what she did was wrong, but claimed she is scared of the future. Sarah still tried to frame herself as a victim, but I do not care anymore. Her fear and regret mean nothing to me now. The support from Emma and my cousin Amy has been the only thing keeping me grounded. Amy told me that my aunt confronted my mom, saying, "This mess is the result of years of favoritism." My aunt accused my parents of always protecting Mike no matter what, and warned them that their choices have consequences. It is a small comfort knowing someone in the family sees the truth and is willing to call them out. With the move confirmed, my lawyer assured me the legal case against Mike will continue without issue. We are pressing charges for his repeated violations of the restraining order while defending against the assault charges he filed. My lawyer is confident the court will see that I am not a threat, and dropping the charges might even become an option. This will be my last update. Writing all of this has been a way to process everything that has happened, but now I need to focus on moving forward. Seattle is my fresh start. A new city, a new job, a new life. For the first time in months, I feel like there is hope. I do not know what the future holds, but I am determined to make the most of it.